Hello, Jamie here from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today a platform pop-up using MFT Saddle Up and Celebrate stamps and dies. I have all of my images colored and die cut out, and I have my platform pop-up pieces there as well. I'm starting with some ink blending on top of the Lawn Fawn's Stitched Mountain border die, and that will be my background piece for my platform pop-up. I am ink blending some tea-dyed ink on top of it with just a blending brush to give it some depth and dimension. And then I'm also going to do that to my platform pop-up pieces, concentrating on the front panels and the top platform part. And then I've already added my double-sided adhesive on these. This way I can put it together without having to wait for that ink to dry. If it is wet, the double-sided adhesive does not stick very well to it. So I'm going to set those ones off to the side, and then I decided to actually hand cut my hills today for my 3 layers. I decided I didn't want the stitched look on them, and I could get a similar look with using the back side of the hilly border dies, but I couldn't get the look I was exactly looking for. And so this way I can do whatever I want if I hand cut it. It might not look as pretty or as perfect, I guess, as the die cut hills, but just know that you don't always need all of the things. You can make do with what you have on hand, or, just scissors and paper works just fine. I have used some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. This one is new to me. I do it's like a lighter craft, heavier, but a lighter craft color, I guess you could say, but not, how craft cardstock has like a texture and it rolls a little bit. This one definitely lays flat like a regular cardstock. I want to say it's 100 to 110 pound. I'm not exactly sure on this one, but it is definitely a very heavy cardstock. I am just ink blending on top of those hills to help add some depth and dimension to them. And then I go back and add a heavier hand on some ink blending on those mountains. Sorry, I am off screen here. It seems to happen a lot. That whole, my desk, you can basically just see the top of where, my little filming spot is, and the rest is like my debris pattern of creating. I don't have a clean desk very often. The only time it gets cleaned is when I lose something and I have to, find it. I did come in with the Distress sprayer here, and I got a huge blot on there, and I did not like it. So I just ink blended over the top of it, and then I did use the Distress sprayer again and did a finer mist, and I liked it a lot better the second time. So don't be afraid to, ink blend over it if it didn't turn out the right way the first time. Because this is a heavier cardstock, I find that it works better to use the Teflon bone folder to reinforce those folds. I don't worry so much about those 2 pieces on the front, like the front panel and the 2 little wings on the side, because they're not a 90-degree angle when it's popped up. And so I don't think it's to me, it's not as important to reinforce that fold. It's more so the ones that are going to be at a 90-degree when they are popped up. And then for my tees here, I do this different every time, I think. I need to remember to do it this way a little bit more, because you can hold that tee in place and then you just fold down, so you don't actually have to fold the fold on the tee and still keep it tight. It seems to work a little bit better. I don't know. Don't worry. Next time I'm sure I will do it different, because I never do it the same way twice in a row. Well, on a different project. Does that make sense? 'Cause this time I did it the same way on the second one. Anyways, folding that front piece down to meet the top piece. And so now I have my front and my back for my platform pop-up. And I don't do a third tee very rarely anymore. I just like to use a piece of cardstock straight up. Like, I just make sure it's a little longer than what I need it. And so then that will sit in between my two platform pieces. And I think it just adds more stability to my finished project. Does that make sense? Because my top piece isn't just in that middle part, isn't floating on that tee that's only anchored by a 1/2 inch. Sometimes I do it so it is the whole, length of that platform pop-up panel piece, but sometimes it's just like this one. It was just a little piece that was tucked in there, probably 1/4 of an inch or so. And then I'm going to straighten up this one and add this hill here. And so in my mind, or in my head, well, that's the same thing, right? So I was thinking, when I laid them out, it's like when you lay out a card and you see your 3 layers, like your back piece is, your back hill is way taller than your middle hill, and then your front little piece hill. And so I was thinking, because it was going to meet the mountains on the side, that it would look okay with that drastic edge there. And I didn't love it after I had it assembled here. You'll see. So I did come in with a glitter Nouveau. I think it's a Nouveau, or it's a Spectrum Noir. It might be the Spectrum Noir Gold. Sorry, it's the Spectrum Noir Gold Glimmer pen, and added a gold belt buckle onto her. And then I will add that image in, and then my front birthday cake or cake image. I guess it doesn't have to be a birthday cake. You can eat cake whenever. And then I will add these 2 pieces because I couldn't decide on my placement on that back one. And I think part of that, usually I have no problem with it. I think the part of that was, on this one, was I really wasn't loving that hill. And I thought I could, that once I put it together and I folded this up and the side pieces met the mountains on the side, that it would look all right. I even added it in, and I got this far, and I'm looking at it, and I hated it. And so, well, card surgery, it happens. So I cut that back hill off right above the T-piece, so I didn't touch the T-piece at all. I kept it, the same width up. And then I ended up trimming down on here. I end up trimming down later. But so I'm going to come back in and then just cut that hill down straight here to give me a straight edge on the bottom, because I knew I was going to need to glue it back in. And then I end up coming with my scissors, and I have to trim up my T-piece because I decided I didn't want it to be a full hill in the background. And then I'm going to make it so it actually comes, that hill rounds down and comes down to the bottom. So it looks like an actual hill, and we're not in the Grand Canyon, because I wasn't going for the Grand Canyon. I was going for the desert. And so once I have this in there, and I kind of figured out where I wanted it placement wise, then I went back in and glued it back in, and I kind of adjusted where I tried pulling up my cactus, and he was glued good. He was not coming off. And so then I kind of had to work that piece to where I wanted the cactus to actually fall in the whole grand scheme of the platform pop-up. And of course, it didn't want to glue in the first time, so I ended up trying again. And then because I ended up moving it, I still had a little piece hanging out. So I had to go in and snip a little bit so it wasn't hanging off the edge there. And so there's me just getting all the debris off. And so I had the little one. I decided I needed another one in there. I just didn't know where I wanted it. And then I decided to go behind that little hill, and I thought going behind it would give it a little bit more dimension. I was debating putting two of them on the little angled pieces there, but in the end, I do end up putting it behind that one hill. And then I will use the reverse tweezers to kind of hold it there. And then I was debating between doing this and the bow, and I couldn't decide, so I cut them both out because, you know, it's not that big of a deal to cut out a couple of extra pieces. I can always use them in the future. I will hold on to them. And I opted to do, because there's that cow print on the bottom layer of the cake, I knew that I had this cow print in a Doodlebug 6x6 paper pad, so the size wise, the cow print was perfectly in the same scale. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for, as the cake layer. And so that's what I decided to go with. And then I did some anti-static powder and some VersaMark ink, and I was going to do some embossing on this front piece here, and then on my back panel. My back panel. I can't talk today. This is like take 35. I'm not even kidding. If you could see me roll my eyes at myself, you would. So I had this all, like, I decided I was going to emboss, and I get that first one done, and I'm like, oh, I don't even have my embossing gun in the house. My kids came in and stole it to take off some decals off a skid loader that they were re-decaling and working on. And so it was out in the shop, not even at my disposal today. So I had to go old school on this one. And I don't have I could have used the iron, but, you know, I didn't want to get that out. So I turned on my electric flat top stove, and then I just used a cooking tongs and held it off of the actual stove top a few inches and just let the heat radiate up, and it melted the embossing powder. It worked fine. And, you know, what you gonna do? I am going to add some more distress ink to my back panel here. I wanted it to blend in with the other ink blending on the bottom piece. And then I added the little hill there for my little cactus to sit on. So I put the little one way over on the side, and I wanted to use up the other one because it was already colored to match my other images. And so I ended up taking a bone folder and kind of giving it a little zhuzh, I guess, because it's not a full crease. I just needed it to have a little bit of a crease there so that it would stick and then fold when my pop-up was actually popped up. So then I will use that reverse tweezers again to hold that in place until it dries. And I did not love that front "Hey Darling" sentiment. It just, I think the font was too skinny and it got lost in that black and white cow print. And so I found a die cut that was the right height to fit in there, but not the right length. So then I just ended up scooting it over and just partially die cutting to cut off that one end to make it match all the way around there. And then I end up going and doing the same thing with this one as I did with the other ones. And then I will add this on top of that one. So I ended up going with Howdy because the Hey Darling was too long to fit on the little yellow piece. And I do like how that pops a little bit better. And then for my little square pieces, I ended up with a gold, kind of like a, I don't know, they're like a glimmer gem. These ones were close to my heart, but I know some other companies make them. And then I came in and added some gold accents to her bandana and on the cake to kind of tie in the gold glimmer gems there. And then there is the back. And so here is the still photos. If you want to see them a little bit longer, they will be up on my blog. And thank you so much for subscribing, liking, commenting, all of the things. I thank you so much. So please keep getting inky and enjoy your day. Goodbye.